Okay, let's get into this. There's a question floating around posed by Robert B. Tucker over at Forbes, a futurist. He asks, point blank, is ChatGPT making us stupid?
That's a pretty provocative question.
It is, and he's not talking about something, loud and obvious. It's more subtle. It really makes you pause and think, doesn't it?
hmm
Like, what if these tools, the ones supposedly making us smarter, are actually sort of quietly making us weaker? Are we really driving the car, or is the machine kind of taking the wheel?
Right, and that's what this deep dive is all about. We're looking into this idea of the cognitive cost of AI.
Yeah, we're going to unpack the evidence, try to understand what's happening, and hopefully figure out how you can use AI more wisely, with more intention.
It's so important now because, let's face it, we lean on tools like ChatGPT for, well, almost everything. Emails, problem solving,
Mm.
things we used to think were purely human thinking.
Totally.
So our goal today is really to give you the essential info, the surprising bits, and some practical things you can actually use in your own life.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So where do we start? You mentioned some initial research.
Yeah, let's kick off with this MIT study. Fascinating stuff. They got about 54 people together, asked them to write essays.
Okay.
Some used ChatGPT to help, some used Google, for research like we normally might, and some just wrote completely solo, no digital aids.
What happened? What did they find?
Well, the results were pretty clear, the ChatGPT group. They wrote faster, no doubt about it.
Faster. Okay, but
But their essays, consistently less original. They just didn't have the same depth. And here's the really striking part.
go on.
The brain scans. They scanned their brains while they worked. The ChatGPT users showed, well, significantly less activity
Less activity where?
in the parts of the brain linked to memory, attention, reasoning, key thinking areas. Their minds were, literally working less hard.
Wow. Okay, so the brain's taking it easy,
Right.
saving energy maybe,
Mm,
which sounds good on paper.
right. Efficient, maybe. But the MIT researchers flagged this. They called it cognitive debt.
Cognitive debt. So how do we tell the difference between like useful offloading and something that's actually harming our thinking?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Think about it like using GPS all the time. You rely on it so much that eventually your own sense of direction kind of fades.
Yeah, I know people like that.
It's similar here. If you let ChatGPT do the heavy lifting, the reasoning part, without really engaging your own brain in that process, well, those mental muscles can get weaker. That's the debt, the long-term cost of outsourcing thinking to.
Right. So we're seeing this pattern emerge. What do researchers call this tendency?
They often call it cognitive offloading.
Oh.
Letting the AI do the heavy mental work.
Offloading the thinking.
Exactly. And the worry is, over time, your own mind might kind of forget how, or at least get less skilled at doing that kind of work itself.
This feels familiar though, doesn't it? These kinds of worries about new technology.
Absolutely.
I mean, when TV first came out, everyone panicked. Kids won't read anymore.
Right. And then phones took over, and it was kids won't think for themselves.
Exactly. And were those worries completely wrong? Maybe not entirely.
No, not entirely. We know heavy screen time is linked to things like shorter attention spans, sleep problems, even issues with emotional regulation, especially for kids and teens whose brains are still developing. We've seen those impacts.
Right. TV brought convenience, sure, but also maybe some passivity. Smartphones. Amazing connection, but also constant distraction, fragmented focus. And now, ChatGPT. It feels different, though. It's not just a screen you watch or scroll through. It's designed to actively, well, think for you, in a
Right.
way.
Yeah, what makes this potentially a bigger deal than TV or smartphones?
Well, like you said, TV might have replaced some reading time. Smartphones chipped away at focus.
Yeah.
But ChatGPT, it feels like it could replace the actual process of thinking itself.
And that's the core of the concern, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's potentially profound, not just for young people, but for all of us. Because thinking isn't just about getting an answer and output. It's how we build our ability to think in the first place.
Right.
It's how we shape our identity, our creativity, our independence. When you skip the struggle, that wrestling with an idea,
Mm-hmm.
you miss the chance to grow those parts of yourself. I mean, I even catch myself sometimes thinking, I could just ask ChatGPT to draft this email, even though I know how to write it, just because it's faster.
It's incredibly tempting. So the real risk isn't just AI taking jobs, maybe. The deeper worry is it could sort of replace our minds slowly if we aren't paying attention.
Which leads to that fundamental question. Are you using ChatGPT to help your thinking, or are you using it to avoid thinking?
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to hand off the hard parts.
Mm.
But every time you do that without engaging yourself, you're giving away a tiny bit of your own brain power. That's that cognitive debt again. It just adds up quietly.
It really does. But, when TV and smartphones became so consuming, people worried about addiction. And they were right to worry.
Yeah.
But we didn't just throw up our hands. We learned. Think about behavioral science, books like Atomic Habits by James Clear. They taught us it's not just about willpower.
Right. It's about changing the environment, the systems around the habit. We learned how to manage it better.
Exactly. And that's the perfect model for dealing with AI. We need to apply those same principles.
Okay, so how does that translate to using ChatGPT, like making overuse invisible?
Well, think about your setup. Is ChatGPT always open in a tab? Maybe close it. Maybe use an extension that adds a little friction, a small delay before you access it. Or consciously decide, okay, first brainstorm is AI free. It's like building a little digital fence.
Okay, make it invisible. What about making it unattractive? How do you do that?
You have to actively remind yourself what you're losing when you just offload. Maybe for a week, you could jot down, when did I use AI? When did I push through myself? Notice the difference in how well you understood something or the quality of your own ideas. Reframe it in your mind not as saving time, but potentially as losing a chance for cognitive growth.
I like that. Okay, invisible, unattractive,
Yeah.
make it difficult.
Yes. Add friction. Try this. Before you even think about prompting, scribble down a rough draft by hand. Or set strict time limits for AI sessions. Use website blockers, maybe. Create physical or temporal no AI zones for certain tasks. That friction disrupts the easy habit. It's your friend here.
And the last part of that habit loop,
Yeah.
make the good habit rewarding.
Crucial. Actively notice and maybe even track when you choose to think first. Before you prompt, give yourself a mental pat on the back for engaging intentionally. It's about consciously swapping that mindless offloading for deliberate thinking. It's about shifting your self-image, maybe, to being someone who uses tech thoughtfully.
So the issue isn't really using ChatGPT, it's using it on autopilot, mindlessly.
Hmm.
What do you think is the biggest barrier for people trying to use it more intentionally?
I think, honestly, the biggest hurdle is realizing that while, yes, ChatGPT can replace some thinking, there's another angle we don't discuss as much.
Oh, what's that?
What if? What if this challenge, this need to guard against cognitive debt, actually pushes us towards a higher kind of thinking? What if it creates a whole new cognitive landscape?
Okay, go on.
We're moving beyond just remembering facts or, regurgitating information. That's becoming less valuable, maybe.
So what's taking its place?
The skills around using the AI itself. We're learning how to ask much better questions, how to craft effective prompts, how to critically evaluate the AI's output because it's not always right.
Right, prompt engineering, iterative querying.
Exactly, and then thinking creatively about what to do with that information. Think about it. Instead of just asking, summarize this, you might ask, okay, summarize this for a fifth grader, now rewrite it for a CEO, now pull out the 3 main counterarguments. That's a different, arguably more complex cognitive skill than just recall.
That's a really interesting point. So it frees up mental energy from the basics.
Yes. The bandwidth we used to spend searching, formatting, doing basic summaries, that's freed up. And it kind of invites us, or maybe challenges us, to focus on what really requires human intelligence. Critical analysis, creative synthesis, judgment, ethical considerations.
So instead of just focusing on what to think, the focus shifts to how to think.
Precisely. And that could be a really profound evolution in how we define and use our intelligence.
Okay, so maybe the question isn't just, will ChatGPT make us stupid? Maybe it's also, will we step up? Will we use this tool to think differently, maybe more deeply, more intentionally?
That's it. The outcome isn't really about the tool itself. It's about us. It's about the choices we make and how we interact with it.
It reminds me of the printing press analogy.
Yeah. How so?
Well, the printing press was revolutionary, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't make reading obsolete. If anything, it made the ability to read and think critically about written material more important. It amplified the need for literacy.
That's a perfect parallel. We should be aiming to use ChatGPT to amplify our thinking, not just replace the effort.
So the final thought for you listening, maybe the real danger isn't some sci-fi scenario of AI taking over.
Maybe the real danger is much quieter. It's that we just stop developing the most important parts of ourselves, our curiosity, our critical thinking, our resilience in the face of a challenge just because it's easier to let the machine handle it.
How do we make sure that doesn't happen? That's the challenge for all of us.